Okay guys, what is going on, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we have a very exciting video, and it is Don Bradman Cricket 14 versus Don Bradman Cricket 17. So I was trying to get a side-by-side comparison and split screen gameplay for both Don Bradman Cricket 14 and 17, since I recorded a lot of footage for both, but then I could not do it, which is really annoying. So I've been looking for a lot of today and most of last night, and I could not find anything to split screen it with. I thought I did once, but it was a Windows thing as well, and it only supported, it didn't support MP4 and AVI files, which was really annoying. And it's a Windows thing as well, so thanks a lot, Windows. And then I thought I found something else today, but guess what? There's a massive freaking watermark the size of the whole screen that takes up, you know, the whole video, so you can't see any of the video. It's just a massive watermark, which is stupid. I understand if you want a watermark, but it can't take up the whole size of the screen. Anyway, let's get right into it. So there will be gameplay from both Don Bradman Cricket 14 and 17 in this video. Sorry there's no side-by-side, I tried for so long, but I just want to get this video out there. By the way, this video is really fast. It's because I wanted to get all the gameplay I put in there, and well, not all, but most of the gameplay I captured, and I put it on times 2 speed. Anyway, let's get into the video, and we'll be talking about Don Bradman Cricket 14 first. I took down notes while I was playing this, while I was recording it, and we'll just do a bit of a comparison between the two, see which is better. So first off is that Don Bradman Cricket 14 is a lot slower. It is much slower. It feels like a much slower game, not as fast-paced. Everything's a bit slow, if you know what I mean. Obviously, it doesn't look slow right now since I put it in double the pace, but it just feels a lot slower than Don Bradman Cricket 17 after going back from 17 and playing a bit of 14. It just feels like a slower game. Now, next up is the worst graphics from DBC 14. Obviously, people say DBC 17 graphics are horrible. I reckon they are much better than DBC 14. So basically, if you have both games, and you think, oh, Don Bradman Cricket 17 has shit graphics, well, I'd play a game of DBC 17, then play a game of DBC 14, and, you know, then you'll be able to see the difference. I reckon that DBC 17 is a lot better in the graphics department. Next up is the easy sixes you can get in Don Bradman Cricket 14. You can literally hold that L2 button, use your footwork, bam, over the sight screen into the crowd, 100-meter six. Very easy to score sixes in this game. So if you're starting out a career, you could just six, make your way to Australia, 666. You're 100 rated, and it's boring. So you can get very easy sixes in this game. Now, this is an upside for DBC 14, and it is the better commentary. I found listening to both commentary that the DBC 14 one was much better. I enjoyed it a lot more. The DBC 17 one is it is really robotic, the commentary, and very repetitive, and they sometimes make the wrong calls. But I think that the DBC 14 commentary wasn't bad at all. Next is another good thing for DBC 14, and it is the less hassle for teams, as the get best actually worked. As soon as you load it into the game, I loaded into the game yesterday just to test it out, see if it was working, and it said that you do not have the real teams. You can download all the real teams right now using the get best feature. So I did that, and it was really quick. Got all the real players from that generation a few years back, and it was awesome. It was just really easy. But I understand they're working on the get best for DBC 17. I know it's a bit tricky since the game just came out, so I know they are working on that. But yeah, hopefully they can get that done. I know it does pop up straight away in the game that you can get best, but it didn't really work for me. Next up is the worst player movement in DBC 14 compared to 17. It just felt a lot, it didn't look as good, didn't feel as good while you're playing, and I just didn't like it as much. Next up is that the bowling interface is massive. As you can see on screen right now, it is massive. It takes up a large portion of the screen, and it is just massive and really annoying, I reckon, how large the bowling interface is. Next is that you start at domestic level in your career mode, which is really not that good. No one starts at domestic level, so you choose your team like Victoria or whatever, which I don't reckon is very good at all. But another point for DBC 14 is that you have to scroll through all the teams in order to find your domestic side. So say you had, you wanted to play for the Bushrangers, you had to scroll through the English sides, and they're all mixed in with the Australian sides, and then you would find your side, which, I don't know, I found that to be a bit annoying that it wasn't evenly set out like DBC 17 is, where you can go from Bangladesh domestic to New Zealand domestic to England domestic to Australia domestic, where you can choose your side. Next is it's quite a boring career mode compared to Don Bradman Cricket 17. In DBC 17, there is a lot you can do with your career mode, but in DBC 14, it just feels quite boring after going back and playing a little bit of it. It was just a bit bland, and not much was there, but you can do a bunch of things on DBC 17 with your career. I just found this too, it was actually a bit boring compared to DBC 17's career mode. Now, I know at the time, I loved this career. I thought it was fan-freaking-tastic, and I never got bored of it. But going back, after seeing the massive improvement of DBC 17, I'm like, this isn't quite the best career mode. The next is there are not many leagues you can play for. You can play in Australia, you can play in England, you can play the IPL, and you can play for your national team. That is about, international, national, whatever. That is about all you can do in DBC 14's career mode. In DBC 17, you can play in the New Zealand domestic, Bangladesh, you can play, Pakistani, you can play like T20s from all over the world, you can play domestic. Well, obviously not domestic, but you can play like leagues all over the world. Oh, it's just awesome, I reckon. How many leagues you can play, how many things you can do in Don Bradman Cricket 17, but in DBC 14 there's not a lot you can do. Next is a much simpler design to the whole entire game. Just felt a lot simpler compared to Don Bradman Cricket 17, obviously, because there are, a bit less features. Obviously, you have the same type of modes, but it just felt really simple, the whole entire game. Its interface, when you, in the menus, it just felt, quite bland, but it also had a good classical feeling to it, I found. And that is my next point. The box cover art, in my opinion, is better than the DBC 17 box art. Now, I'll have a look at both of them right now, and it just looks like a more classical game, a bit more like Don Bradman, the Don Bradman Cricket 14, bit more Don Bradman times, Australian, if you know what I mean, in DBC 14's cover. In DBC 17's cover, it just looks a bit like, I wouldn't say fake, but I don't reckon it's much of an improvement to DBC 14 at all with the box cover art, which is probably one of the only things that DBC 14 did better than DBC 17 in my opinion. And speaking of DBC 17, you can see the gameplay will switch over in just a second here after you have a quick look at the academy right now and how much different it actually was. You could only create players and all that, couldn't even create stadiums, so it's a big difference. Over to DBC 17 now, we will get started, and it is the much better design and the fresh menus. So the menu is a lot more fresh, and it makes it heaps of fun to get on and play. You feel like, oh, well, look at this This is fun, as you can see in the menu right now. Big, bright, colourful, in your face, and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool, this is pretty fun. So, I reckon that is a lot better, and it, as I said before, it is a very bright and colourful game, which I reckon is awesome, as you can see the loading menu there. Next, the ability to make stadiums is amazing and revolutionary. You can create stadiums for your player, your team, any team in the game to play for, which is amazing. Great in-depth feature as well. You can do so much in the Stadium Creator. I reckon it is a massive hit, and hopefully in the next DBC game they include that and upgrade it even further. Next, although no licensing to the stadiums, all of them look great and they all look realistic. So if you you could obviously create the SCG or the MCG with the Stadium Creator, but the default stadiums in there actually look quite realistic, and some of the county ones, I reckon they look really cool, really realistic, really have a nice scenery about them, nice cricket, cricket feel about them. And then you have the biggest stadiums in Australia, and I just reckon it is his channel about it. Let me know if you'd like me to make a video about it. But the occasional crashing, Big Ant did get in touch with me. They said they will be working on that in the next patch update, and they will be fixing that up. Next, as I said before, the graphics are a lot better. I just find it to be a really realistic cricketing experience, which is awesome. So the next one is that the consoles can finally have the real logos, kits, bats, and more with the Cricket Academy, which is amazing. Cricket Academy is amazing, and it allows us to, as I said before, have the real teams and the real logos, which we couldn't have in DBC 14, which is awesome. The real kits, even though they sometimes glitch, but and the real bats with grey nickels or kookaburra on them, which I reckon is awesome. Next, the gameplay is a bit harder, but I reckon it's more fun and more free-flowing, as is the footwork. The footwork is a lot better in this game, and it is a lot more free-flowing. You can move your feet around in your crease, you can play back foot, front foot, you can basically put your foot everywhere you want, and it's a lot smoother. And as I said before, the gameplay is a bit harder, even on the easiest difficulty, but it is a lot more fun than, I don't know, just the bland feeling of Don Bradman Cricket 14 after going back and playing with it. Next, as I said before, the commentary downgrade, repetitive a bit, sometimes get the calls wrong. They're not horrible, and but a lot of the time they don't talk for long periods of time, which can be quite annoying. Next, the crowd still looks unrealistic, which happens in pretty much every sports game. I haven't seen one sports game get this really correct yet. Maybe NBA 2K, I'm not sure. Next, well, not next, but large numbers at smaller games for the crowds and small numbers at games that should be big. I've found, so like Nana Goon versus Geelong, for example, pulled in a bunch of people, but Australia versus, I don't know, New Zealand didn't pull in that much people. I found that, which was quite annoying, I reckon. So next up we have logos and kits can sometimes glitch, and you can have the wrong logos and kits, as has happened in mine, but I've seen a lot of people, it works for them, but my logos and kits can sometimes glitch and stuff about. The mini-games are really cool in Don Bradman Cricket 17. You can hit the... you can obviously hit the ball in Don Bradman Cricket 17. But my point is, if you go into training, in the menu, I believe it's called training, and then you can play a bowling and batting mini-game. I haven't played the bowling yet, but I played the batting, and I reckon the batting is an awesome mini-game to pass time. And I might be looking for a few records on that, to play a few games, get the world record or something. I'll do it on stream, but I reckon they are awesome, like a lot of fun. Next, the career mode is in depth, and the career mode is awesome to play through. You start your career, you pick your league, you pick your club cricket that your club that you're going to play for. I did a vote on my stream out of Dandenong, Narnagoon, and Frankston, and we ended up going for Narnagoon, which was awesome. Really realistic experience, starting as a low rating as a young player, and then you can work your way up. It's just emotional. So yeah, it is awesome how you can do that. Very, very realistic experience opposed to, I don't know, a lot of other games. I haven't seen anything like this in a game yet where you start at a club level, which is, I reckon, awesome. Maybe we'll get it in AFL Evolution. Speaking of AFL Evolution, I'm going to be doing a bunch of that on my channel this year. Anyway, next, a lot of things you can do in career mode. As I said, start at club level, and you can play for every single league in the world. As I've also said, you can play in Australia for any Australian teams in the Big Bash. You can play England County, you can play Pakistani, you can play Bangladesh, you can play in India. You can play all over the world in this game, which is awesome. It means you don't have to simulate a whole year through to the summer, and you can just keep playing throughout the winter for a bunch of different sides, which I reckon is awesome. Next are the objectives for each game. You get given objectives which you can do. They're not necessarily for each game, but every time you complete an objective, you get another objective which you are to complete if you would like to, and I reckon is awesome, and it helps you with your XP and stuff. So you keep working on the objectives, which is a nice little feature, I reckon, and keeps the game fresh. Next, being able to pick your own side if you're a captain is a fantastic and realistic feature. So you can have all your favourite players in with you from the team. Say if there's someone who you think deserves a go, and you'll see how he plays, and if he plays well, you'll keep him in the team. I reckon that is amazing how you can, I don't know, test out someone like, I don't know, Pattinson, if you want to, even though he'll probably be in the main team if he's healthy and fit. But if you want to, that was just a random name I came up with in my head, well, not random name, whatever, random player, and you can chuck him in, and you can see how he goes, and if he plays well, you'll keep him for another few games, and you can test out a bunch of different players. You can find your perfect partner, say if you're an opener, or if you're a bowler, you can find the perfect batsman, your perfect bowling partner, because, you know, your bowling partners with the spells. Anyway, another good feature is the having women in the game. It's a nice touch, I reckon. You can download the women's teams as well, and you can play through a women's career. I haven't talked about the star player career. That's also pretty cool. I might do a series of that on my channel. But yeah, having women in the game is a nice touch. A lot of games are doing that now, such as FIFA. Next, the bowling interface is much smaller, and it looks a lot cleaner. With many different types of balls to bowl. So you can bowl off break, you can bowl, I don't know, cross seam, you can bowl an in swinger, an out swinger, which is really cool how you can do that, and you have many different types of balls to bowl within the game, and the bowling interface is so much better. It's unbelievable. After going back and playing DBC 14 and coming back, I was like, whoa. Next, the loading takes a long time, but the screen is nice with a few pointers about the game. So it tells you about the game, how you can improve, and the loading screen is pretty nice. Now time for the final verdict. DBC 17 is a big improvement to an already good game in Don Bradman Cricket 14. If you like cricket games, cricket and games, they should definitely be considered for a pickup in the future to add to your game collection. So that is my final verdict on these two games. Hopefully you have enjoyed this comparison. Sorry I couldn't get them side by side. I've been sitting here talking about these two games for 20 minutes and I'm quite out of breath because I haven't had a break. You can hear me gasping for air. Anyway, I've been Kate and you've been the viewer. Until next time, peace. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Bye.